What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Mike Drop Sports here on a Friday. And what do the Pittsburgh Steelers need to do offensively and defensively in order to be truly successful against this Raiders team? And I think there's a few holes in their game that the Steelers are going to be able to exploit on both sides of the football. And let's dive into all of those. Please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff as we continue to march toward our goal of 4,000 subscribers here. Let's talk first about this Pittsburgh Steelers defensive unit and what they could possibly do in order to control the Raiders. And the Steelers, we know, with massive amounts of injuries along that defense, and especially to the outside linebacker room. And are the Steelers going to be able to apply enough pressure with minimal numbers? The Raiders are susceptible to that. That is a thing the Steelers should be able to exploit. However, the injuries might come into play there to where they might have to get a little bit different and exotic in their blitz packages to get some pressure on this Raiders offense. Gardner Minshew threw a couple interceptions last week against the Broncos in pivotal moments, one down near the goal line, etc. It was a tough task for Gardner Minshew last week, and this Raiders offense had bright spots, and it was able to run the ball. They were averaging almost 6 yards a carry at one point in that game with Madison and Amir Abdullah. So the Steelers have to be able to watch those guys also. So Keanu Benton, all those guys in the front there, they have to be able to apply pressure up the middle. And guys like Madison that are able to run in between the tackles, but yet also be versatile. You have to be able to control those guys. The running backs are going to be of utmost importance to make sure that you don't allow them to take over this game, because the Steelers have been giving up a lot of yards on the ground. They have been giving up a lot of yards to running backs out of the backfield and quick pitch and catches. Also, the Raiders are able to throw the ball down the field a little bit with Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is special. The Raiders can use him and really pick apart this Steelers defense, who has had trouble with tight ends like that in the past. So that is something that has to be looked at. And if you're the Steelers, you got to come out in a little bit different set this week. Again, you have to be loose, fast, and free. We talked about that yesterday. But the Steelers have to be able to scheme up a way in order to not allow Brock Bowers and this running game and these running backs out of the backfield in the pass game to take over this ball game. I think that's the most important thing for the Steelers on defense, to be able to win this game, to come out with a win. I think the Steelers have to ensure that you don't let those three guys really take control and dominate, because you could give up a ton of rush yards, especially to a guy like Madison, who can run in between those tackles very easily, really come downhill and explode and hit that second level and be off to the races. Amir Abdullah also is a guy that if he gets to that second level, it's very tough to bring him down, and he can get moving. Brock Bowers is a guy, though, that can drag across the middle, that can run those comeback routes, that can win those 50-50 balls, that can do all the things that you want a special tight end to do. And that is going to be a very, very important thing for the Steelers. And how do they cover that? Is the guy in a slot cornerback role going to be able to handle a guy like Brock Bowers? Are the linebackers, maybe a Peyton Wilson, match up well against a guy like Brock Bowers? Again, this scheme's got to be different this week, and you've got to come out in different looks, because the Raiders can and will exploit this defense if given the opportunity, especially with the amount of injuries that are along this defensive side of the football. Let's move over to the offense a little bit for the Steelers. I don't want to make this video terribly long. We'll talk more about keys to victory and X's and O's as we get through. One last thing that I want to talk about on that Raiders offense, though. That offensive line for the Raiders doesn't appear to be very gap sound. And what I mean is that the Steelers should be able to exploit that, shooting the gaps in different ways and still be able to apply pressure with minimal numbers. Hopefully the Steelers are able to do that. But that Raiders offensive line concerns me me, to where they can't cover all those gaps, and they're not very gap sound, if you ask me, as an offensive line unit. All right, let's move over, like I said, to the offense. Let's talk a little bit about what the Steelers are going to be able to, or hopefully be able to do against this Raiders defense in order to succeed. You got to watch out for guys like Max Crosby, man. The Raiders can apply pressure off the edges, and Broderick Jones and Dan Moore Jr. are going to be of utmost importance this week. They have to have a solid game. Otherwise, that Justin Fields is going to be running for his life. And that is something that has to be done this week by these two tackles. They can't take a step backwards. They have to take a massive leap forward, because this game could be totally wrecked by a guy like Max Crosby. And I think if the Steelers are thoughtful in how they scheme up and how they block a guy like Max Crosby and the other edge guys, I think if they are thoughtful in their process there, I think that they can control it a little bit and minimize the impact of that. But however, it's got to be of utmost importance to them this week. The tackles have to have a good game. Also, the Raiders' soft zone can be picked apart. And I think guys underneath, like a Calvin Austin, getting him in space through a drag route, through a quick slant, those types of things. Pat Freiermuth utilized in that drag route game, that quick comeback game, that flag route type game. I think you can exploit this soft zone of the Raiders. I definitely do think you can do that if you're the Steelers. But you have to be able to be willing to throw the ball into some congested areas. And if you're Justin Fields, you have to be able to have confidence in yourself enough to be able to do that, because definitely it's something that can be opened up and utilized. And if Calvin Austin isn't really used this week, I think the Steelers are making a grave mistake, because like I said, I think he could be ultra successful running from the slot, running from the outside, underneath quick drags, taking that first step and making an immediate drag route slant across the field, just dragging it right underneath those middle linebackers and allowing Calvin to get out in space and use his speed. And I think that has to be of utmost importance. And also, again, with this zone, with the way that the Raiders play defense, I think the deep ball can be open and open often. And I think you can hit guys like George Pickens, Calvin Austin again, maybe even perhaps a Van Jefferson down the field. But I think you really have to hit those deep balls, because they are open, and the Denver Broncos had them open to them also in that game that I watched between those two, Raiders-Broncos game. I definitely think that they can exploit that, and definitely think that they need to take their shots. Again, that's going to be what? Playing fast and free. What we talked about yesterday, taking the shots, playing with confidence. Again, that's why you have to do that, because Justin Fields is going to have those opportunities, but he's got to seize the moment when they give it to him. Excuse me. All right, let's continue through this offense. Again, the deep ball could be open. Those drag routes, all that could be something the Steelers really utilize. The run game definitely can be successful. The Broncos had success running against the Raiders offense or Raiders defense. However, I think the zone run scheme of an Arthur Smith led offense could really, really be effective. But the true question is, can Najee Harris be effective in a zone run scheme? I don't know. He's yet to prove that he can be really ultra successful in that scheme. Or will the Steelers come out and try to downhill run it? I think they could downhill run it, but that zone run scheme of Arthur Smith could be really super successful against this Raiders defense with just the way they play ball, minus sitting here talking about all the X's and O's about why I think that zone run scheme could be effective. But I definitely see that there is opportunity for that, and definitely has to be looked at if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, Justin Fields has to utilize his legs this week. You saw Bo Nix be able to run against this Raiders defense, and I think Justin Fields is a far better athlete than Bo Nix, and I think honestly he has to take advantage of that this week and really utilize his legs, because I think he could rip off some monster runs and really rip open this game for the Pittsburgh Steelers out in Las Vegas. Justin Fields, it's going to come down to a lot of what he can do this week. This game is going to be a lot on Justin Fields, in my opinion, considering he has to be able to to hit those open opportunities in that soft zone. He has to be able to understand when to tuck it and run straight up the middle through. Once that pocket starts to collapse around him, he has to understand that he can use his legs and gain some big yards and not try to force feed the football to somebody. But he really has to have his eyes open this week, and he really has to understand where that defense is and what they potentially are going to do each snap. His pre-reads pre-snap are going to be very, very important this week. His pre-snap reads are something that are going to really honestly dictate how this Steelers offense really goes, because he has to understand where these plays are going to be open and get there quickly, and don't allow a guy like Max Crosby to get off the edge, considering the Steelers aren't playing very well along the offensive line. So, yeah, those are just some of my keys to victory here today. Not really keys to victory, but what I think the Steelers have to do in order to secure victory. So we'll see what happens here with the Steelers this Sunday, but it should be a special game to watch if all of those things can happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and hopefully they could get to 4-2. All right, guys, we're going to be actually moving back to the old format here for a little bit. Nick is going to be taking a break, and we were, doing things with him in terms of StreamYard and stuff like that. So we'll figure out a new format and stuff. So best of wishes to Nick and Martina and what they have in their plans in their future. And hopefully they get that all done. And yeah. Sometimes you just got to step away for a little bit. So, yeah, we're going to try to go back to the old format here and see how things go, and try to figure out where we want to take the next move of Mic Drop Sports. Things are ever evolving. So, again, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff as we continue to march forward here, again, toward our 4,000 subscriber goal. And hopefully we'll hit that here very soon. So thank you. Thank you for joining us here on a Friday. Look forward for us tonight for Steel City Live. I don't have anything going on, so I'll definitely be there tonight. We'll kick off at about 7:30, and we'll see if we can go back to this old format in terms of in the shorts view, and see how that runs for us a little bit here for Steel City Live tonight. And then we'll do a few more shows on StreamYard, though. We have until, I think, like the 22nd. So, and I don't know, maybe I'll purchase the StreamYard and go from there. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, I'm Jason. This is Mic Drop Sports. Peace, my friends.